Howdy, 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 my name's Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read SCP Foundation Wiki. So, I know I said that the next episode was going to happen on Monday, and, well... You want the suit? The dog asked. Are you sure? Adams is going to need it, Clef said, especially if the Coalition starts stepping up their efforts. Professor Kane Pathos Crow gave a low, angry growl. He slapped his front paw against a button on the console, and the finally completed Egg Walker folded up into its storage configuration and rolled up to the ramp. You should take her off the task force, he said angrily. She's not ready. She's going to be ready, Crow, Clef said. And she's going to be one of the best assets the Foundation has ever had. Call it a hunch. I don't intend to have my most important creation put at risk of destruction on one of your henches, Clef. I spent months, years. I know what you're worried about, Clef interrupted, but Adams can do it. She just needs that goddamn suit. Kane Pathos Crow gave his old friend an angry glare. He glided his hand over his little hover platform past a pair of large water tanks where a couple of white-coated researchers were apparently conferring with a pair of nightmare sea monsters, SCP-2735, with long tentacles and glowing spots all over their bodies. Elliot! He barked. Yes, Kane? Yes, Kane? A 30-something woman stuck her head up from behind a desk where she had apparently been working on a computer. Her eyes were large and surprised-looking as she pushed her glasses up from where they had been sliding down her nose. Would you get Dr. Clef the suit? We're not completely done with... Yeah, we are. We don't need to put all the markings and numbers. What we have now will suffice. Right, Dr. Elliot said. I feel like we've covered Dr. Elliot. She dashed into a back room from which the sound of rummaging could soon be heard. Yeah. Isn't that the one who was with Adams in 105 and that stupid bar crawl incident? Yeah, we've been through that. She was the getaway driver, Professor Clow replied, and she's a damn good researcher, too. Gonna take her away from me, too? Not planning on it. The suit should be fine. That's not what I meant, Professor Crow said. They promised me they'd reactivate Olympia. It's been days and I haven't heard anything else. What gives? Bit impatient, aren't we? Look, I wouldn't worry too much yet. You'll get your girls back soon enough. Their conversation was interrupted by Dr. Elliot returning with a silver case under one arm and a sleek black helmet under the other. Here you go. Whew. There are flexible solar panels in the fabric. It should keep it going for most of the time, but you're going to have to plug it in every once in a while. I'll figure it out, Dr. Clef said. Thanks. He picked up the suitcase and helmet. Hey, look on the bright side, Crow. If I'm wrong, we'll all probably die. Then you can tell me I told you so. Only if all dogs go to heaven, Kane said, deadpan. Alright, Adams, the voice over the loudspeaker said. How do you like the suit? I look like a video game character, Adams complained. The suit was form-fitting and jet black and a bit shiny, too, supposedly from the flexible photoelectric cells embedded in the fabric. The sexy spy cat suit look alone was enough to make Adams cringe, but then there were the faintly glowy bits and the dark red decorative piping. The hell is this thing? Leftovers from an abandoned project from the Omega-7 era, Clef said. It's a bit complicated, but think of it as an enhanced combat armor. Okay, Adams said, raising her arms and clenching her fists. Despite the tight fit, the suit didn't seem to restrict her movements. Will Alpha Niner be issued these too? Nope, just you. Technically, everything in that room is subject to special containment procedures. The procedures in this case are, if Adams breaks or loses them, she's in deep shit. So, take care of him, capiche? Yes, sir, Adams said, putting as much sarcasm as she could into her salute. Alright, we'll start with sensory input. Put on the helmet, close your eyes, and count to 10. By the time you open them, the vision system should have activated. Adams slid the helmet over her head and locked it into place. It fit snugly as if it were made for her, and it almost certainly was. She followed Clef's instruction and closed her eyes. Gotta clear my throat again. Sorry you had to hear that. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Adams opened her eyes. Something behind her eyes went click. The world exploded into painful color. The light didn't so much pierce her eyes as barrel through like a juggernaut. Adams staggered, her optic nerves ablaze with an overload of information. She clawed at the faceplate of the featureless black helmet, struggling to get it off, get it! Adams! Clef said, his voice was painfully loud. Adams, listen to me! Focus! Concentrate on my voice! She closed her eyes again, took deep breaths. Tried to drown out the pounding of her terrified heart through force of will. Too much color. Can't see! Adams, listen to me! It's feeding information directly into your visual cortex. Everything from gamma rays through infrared. You just need to filter. No, how? Adams wept as she pounded the visor of her helmet against the concrete floor. The blurring of her tears twisted her vision further, which didn't help her current situation at all. Can't control. Yes, you can! Clef snapped. It's just like going from a dark room into a lighted one. Your eyes will change the way they see the light. Your brain will change the way it processes the information. You just need to give it time to get used to it. Open your eyes, Adams. Don't be afraid. His voice took on a sneering, condescending tone. Or are you just an airheaded office bunny, just like everyone thinks you are? Oh, fuck you, Clef. Raising her eyelids those few scant millimeters was the most terrifying thing she'd ever done. When she did, she wanted to scream. She didn't do it. She refused to let that smiling asshole see her weakness again. The explosion of information didn't quite lessen. More like she grew accustomed to the insane amount of data pouring into her brain. She started picking out the important bits, filtering the junk, disregarding noise to focus on the data. In a few moments she was able to stand, breathe, slow her racing heart back into something resembling its normal resting rate. She looked up at the observation room with the bulletproof window. Dr. Clef? A metallic click. Yes, Adams? Please don't insult the office assistants again, or I'll report you to our superiors for another round of sensitivity training. She heard Clef chuckle. Understood, Adams. Day 2. Alright, Adams, Clef said. Seems like you've gotten the hang of the first part of what the helmet can help you do. Now it's time for the second part. Up in the observation room, the window turned black as a polarizing light filter activated. One of the walls of the test chamber lit up, displaying a swirling pattern of lights. Adams immediately recognized the distinctive orchid and worms pattern of a Berryman Langford mimetic hazard. She let out a shriek of surprise and closed her eyes. Open your eyes, Adams, Clef ordered. Are you fucking insane? With a live cog hazard in the same room as me? You will be protected from its harmful effects. Open your eyes. Adams opened her eyes. It wasn't that she wasn't being affected by the deadly pattern swirling on the screen. It was more that she could recognize what it was trying to do and was able to deny it. The image on the wall was trying to tell her heart to stop, but like a child putting her fingers in her ears and yelling loudly, she could somehow drown out that voice. Congratulations, Adams, Clef said. You are now one of the few uninoculated people to ever see a Berryman Langford mimetic kill agent and live. What's it like? Why don't you clear your windows and see for yourself? I think I'll pass. Alright, let's try some audio hazards next. Then we're going to repeat yesterday's exercise on ultraviolet and upper EM spectrum tracking. I think I'm starting to get the hang of it, Adams said, though I think infrared will be more useful. Not many humans give off ultraviolet or gamma rays. I've got my reasons, Adams. I'll explain later. For now, let's continue the lesson. Day 3. Alright, Adams, Clef said. I think that's enough for the helmet. Now it's time to test out the suit. He pressed a button and a minigun popped out of a hatch on the other side of the room and opened fire. Adams tumbled back as the force of the bullets knocked her to the ground, pummeling her with supersonic projectiles. I get it, she shouted. The suit's bulletproof. Let me up. Of course the suit's bulletproof. That's just the first part of the test. Another hatch opened and a muzzle of a large caliber anti-material rifle emerged from a gun port on the wall. Oh, shit, Adams thought. The rifle fired. Something behind her eyes went click. Adams felt the round punch into her arm. She felt the pain for an instant, then it was as if all the agony just went away. She knew her arm was hurting, she just didn't care. It was just pain. The rifle's muzzle turned. The next round hit her in the forehead, then the back of her head hit the ground. She shook her head as stars exploded behind her eyes. I was reading 2 lines at the same time. Up above her, a ceiling panel opened up. Then a grand piano fell on her. The minigun ceased firing. The rifle pulled back behind the gun port. There was only silence, broken by the sound of hot brass clattering to the concrete floor. With the sound of snapping piano strings, a fist punched through the splintered wood, followed by another fist, then a head and shoulders. Alright, Clef said, let's review. The suit will stop auto-penetration, although not impact, of rounds up to 50 caliber Browning. It will also stiffen against broader area impacts, and also it will enhance your strength and speed up to half a shattered piano smashed against the observation deck window. I guess you found that out already. Next exercise. Day 4. Alright, Adams, Clef said, let's talk guns. Are you going to shoot me again? She was still pissed about the piano thing. No, today you're going to be the one doing the shooting. One of the walls slid open, revealing a firing range beyond. The walls and ceilings were covered in what appeared to be battleship armor, and the bullet trap was a large, heavily armored cone the length of a football field. There is a Mark 7 sidearm on the firing line. Go ahead and load it. Adams walked to the firing line, picked up the pistol, checked the chamber magazine. Should be a piece of cake, she said as the slide snapped home. I've always been good at marksmanship. I know. But this drill's a bit different. Pop up targets at unknown ranges. Your goal is to place 10 rounds into each. Ready? Ready, Adams said, taking her firing stance. Begin. The red light lit up and the speakers let out a buzz. A small white circle about the width of a basketball flipped up at the end of a metal arm. Adams raised the pistol and tracked the target, lining up the front sight with the center of the circle. She exhaled halfway, took up the slack on the trigger. The target dropped away. The red light flashed and the speakers buzzed. 0 points. Next target. Wait, what? Another target flipped up on the end of a metal arm. Adams brought up the weapon, lined it up. The target fell away. Red light, buzz. 0 points. Stop thinking, just do it. Your body's trained, you know the motions. Focus your mind on finding the target and let your muscle memory do the rest. But another target flipped up. Adams spun it, open fire. 1 hit, 2 hits, 3. Target fell away. 2 points. You need to fire faster. That's insane! You can't get groupings that tight that fast. No, they can't get groupings that tight that fast. You are wearing a highly sophisticated combat suit. Your abilities are far beyond that of any human. You can do this. Next target. A surge of anger blazed through her blood. Something behind her eyes went click. She put the first round into the next target before it had flipped completely into place. The second and third followed just as quickly. The fourth clipped the upper edge, so she pushed down the muzzle of the pistol and put 5 and 6 back into the center. She put 2 more to the target before it fell away behind the burn. 8 points, Clef said. Not too bad. Next target. But I'm out of ammo. Adams protested. Red light, buzz. Reload faster. 0 points. Adams swore she grabbed a magazine from the firing line and slammed it into place. Day 5. Alright, Adams. Take 5. What the hell happened? Adams cleared and saved her weapon, then inspected the damage. The trigger hung loosely in the lower receiver, giving no resistance to the touch of her fingertip. You pulled the trigger before the bolt returned fully. When you did, you must have broken something in the trigger group. You were literally firing faster than the weapon can cycle. The Mark 19 carbine has a cyclic rate of 950 rounds per minute, Adams said. Yeah, I know. You're faster. Adams put the rifle down on the table. Okay, I'm a little bit freaked out now. What the hell is this suit, anyway? I guess you do deserve an explanation, Clef admitted. Alright, get changed and meet me outside. It's lunchtime anyway. So, Clef said, rummaging through the picnic basket. You want turkey or beef? Turkey. Hold the hallucinogens. I only did that once and it was for a seminar. The walls were alive and my purse was trying to eat me, and you were screaming about how you were a living god? I have no desire to repeat the experience. You handled it better than most, Clef said. Poor Chang was clawing the tablecloth. He handed one of the 2 sandwiches to Adams. Alright, down to business. Do you know anything about the Bow Commission? Let's see. Okay, so that's another thing that we don't really need to read, but it sounds pretty standard. A little bit. It was before my time. Okay, once upon a time, the Foundation wasn't the international independent organization it was today. It needed help, especially funding and manpower. It found both through a man named General Bow. I've heard of him, Adams said. I don't know much about him, though. Well, General Bow was the head of the United States military secret paranormal research branch. Cold War diehard. He truly believed that the Soviet Union was an empire of evil, godless monsters, the whole deal. They went to the GOC, but the UN wasn't interested in helping the US build up a private arsenal. General Bow needed to find someone with enough resources to fulfill his needs, but outside the aegis of the United Nations. Us? Adams asked. The Foundation, Clef confirmed. He picked the tomatoes out of his sandwich and tossed them onto his sandwich wrapper. Match made in heaven, right? We get our money and an unlimited supply of convicts, they get their weapons, hence the research. Hence the increase in field teams and security forces, and especially hence MTF Omega-7, a mobile task force made up of humanoid anomalies. Except Omega-7 failed, Abel killed them all. Yeah. Bo wanted soldiers, but what he got was a psychopath and a teenager. What he needed was someone who was good at killing, but was also controllable. 76 was good at killing, but he could never be controlled. 105 followed orders, but she was never really a killer no matter how hard they tried to turn her into one. So one of the other researchers came up with a different approach. The suit? Pretty much. Instead of turning an anomaly into a soldier, you can train up a soldier and give it the power of an anomaly. The suit you're wearing represents the end result of that project. Adams steepled her fingers as Clef tore open his little packets of salt and pepper and sprinkled them onto his sandwich. So, how come everyone knows about Iris and Abel but no one's ever heard of this suit before? It was in early prototyping when 76 killed Omega-7 and O5 shut down all weaponization of anomalies. Up until I asked Crow to resurrect one of his old projects for you, the suit wasn't completed. I've never met Professor Kane Hathos Crow, Adams said thoughtfully. Maybe I should consult with him regarding improvements to the suit's design. Improvements? Why the hell does the suit need improvements? It's not exactly comfortable for one. Rides up a bit and it takes forever to put on and take off. Adams, Clef said, you focus on keeping 105 alive and being able to put a bullet in her head if she turns bad. That's your job. My job is dealing with the eggheads and bureaucrats. You want to ask Crows for improvements, you send the request through me. Capiche? Capiche, Adams said, rolling your eyes. Day 6. Alright, Adams, Clef said. Today we're going to talk about why the entire firing range is armored like a tank. I assume it has something to do with this gigantic rifle on the side table. You assume correctly. Pick it up. Adams hefted the enormous gun. Even with the suit taking most of the weight, the weapon was incredibly unwieldy. What the hell does this thing fire? 20mm cannon shells, the same kind they put in fighter jets. What am I going to do with this? Blow up a tank? You could. Or you could fight the Global Occult Coalition. I'm listening. Good. A GLC strike trooper in a white suit is basically a human-sized tank. It can run at speeds of upward of 60 miles per hour. It can shrug off weapons fire up to and sometimes beyond 50 caliber BMG. It can be dropped by parachute from a plane or a port in with the aid of a thaumaturge, whatever that is. And most importantly, Clef said, tapping on control at his console, it's fucking invisible. 6 dummies clad in white armor suits materialized on the firing range. Jesus! Adams shouted, recoiling in surprise. He's too busy to help you, Clef said. Now, our invisibility tech isn't as advanced as the GOC's, but this should suffice for training. A white suit's PVI system renders it invisible to infrared and visible light, but they're somewhat visible in the ultraviolet and upper EM spectrum. None of which matters because they're also shrouded by a cognito-hazardous compulsion not to notice them. And if you can get past both of those defenses, you've still got to find a bullet big enough to punch through their armor. This suit, Adams said as understanding dawned. It makes me just as fast and as strong as a white suit. The helmet senses ultraviolet and upper EM and filters out cognito hazards. And the rifle? The rifle is our current best chance to punch through a white suit's armor without also taking out an entire city block. Clef's voice was low and grim. I'm not going to lie to you, Adams. Even with all these upgrades, your chances in a one-on-one fight aren't much better than 50%. And strike teams deploy in squads of 8, plus commander, all in white suits. Those are their heavy hitters then. Hell no, Clef said. The heavy hitters are orange suits, but nothing can fight an UHEC, so we're not even going to try. If you see something that looks like a cartoon robot and sounds like a monster, just fucking run. All this isn't exactly doing wonders for my confidence, Adams dug the toe of her boot into the floor. You're telling me I'm screwed. No, I'm telling you that you've got about a 1% chance of taking on a GOC strike team and winning, which is better than anyone else in the Foundation's chances, which are a big, fat, stinking 0. Now, stand on the line and engage your sensors. I'm going to recloak the target. When I say go, you'll have about 10 seconds to engage and destroy them all. Is that all? Adams asked sarcastically, and she inserted a magazine the size of a phone book into her enormous weapon. Nope! A hatch opened and a 50 caliber machine gun emerged from that damned gun port. You're going to do it all while getting shot at! Adams swore. She ducked behind a concrete barricade as a burst of heavy machine gun fire punched the big holes through absolutely everything. From Assistant Director Alto Clef, Division of Training and Development, to O5 Council regarding Mobile Task Force Tab 666 Operation Elpis. Asset Temec has completed familiarization training with Phase 2 equipment. Current rate of integration is estimated at 25%. As of the writing of this report, amnestic treatments and false memory constructs continue to hold. Per pre-existing standing orders, Asset Temec remains unaware of its prior identity. I will continue to monitor Asset Temec's progress and provide training and support as needed. Dr. Clef. Priority message. Palisade Broken Menagerie. Blah blah blah. At 1827 hours local time, AIAD Grape detected internet traffic indicating a possible broken menagerie, anomalous threat, and wild incident. A Foundation agent was deployed to blank hospital in blank Missouri? Michigan? Whatever that is. Confirmed occurrence of SCP-08 in wild. Mobile Task Force Beta 5 babysitters to prepare for immediate deployment. Elements of Mobile Task Force Alpha 9, Last Hope, and Lambda 2 and NE to accompany MTF-B5 as observers. From O5 Council to Dr. Alto Clef. regarding Mobile Task Force Tab 66 Operation Elpis. Asset Resh 2 to be released from storage and returned to Asset Resh. Asset Samick is to be deployed with Phase 2 equipment as security detail for Asset Resh. Assets Resh and Samick will deploy with Mobile Task Force Beta 5 as observers. Let's get Iris some hands-on experience before we possibly get shut down forever. 057. It felt oddly right to be back in tactical gear again. The equipment had changed, but its purpose had not, to make sure her most vital gear was carried in a comfortable but easily reachable fashion. Iris tied her boots tightly and tucked the ends of the laces under the tongue of her boot. Adrian had showed her a neat trick that would make sure that the lacing didn't slip and her shoes didn't come untied. Oh man, if toes came untied, ugh. It had taken a few tries to remember how it worked, but once she got it right, the way the boots gripped her ankles felt proper. She was pulling a blue long-sleeve shirt over her tank top when the woman's locker room opened and Miss Emma Peel walked in. Except it wasn't Miss Emma Peel, it was Adams in a close-fitting black cat suit. "What the hell are you wearing?" Iris asked. "Anomalous tech," Adams said. "It's some kind of super suit." She put down a silver pistol case and a helmet that looked like something straight out of Power Rangers. "You look like Catwoman," Iris said. "I'm going to get so many stupid comments, aren't I?" "Look on the bright side. Everyone's going to be so busy staring at you that no one will want to shoot at me." "Thanks a lot." Adams grumbled. She fished her tactical vest from her locker, pulled out the plate inserts, and tossed them onto the floor, handling the heavy ceramic plates as if they were playing cards. "You're not going to wear the plates?" Iris asked, shrugging at her own armored vest. "Won't stop anything this damn suit can't." Adams said, pulling the Kevlar on and closing the clasp. "Oh, by the way, I brought you an old friend." She gestured to the pistol case. Iris gulped. She undid the latches on the gun case and opened the cover slowly and reverently. A Polaroid camera lay within, nestled in plucked foam. She ran a finger over the familiar scuff mark on the bottom left edge. "We were able to find a few cartridges of original Polaroid film in our stocks," Adams said, strapping her pistol belt around her waist. "Not sure if it'll work after all this time, so we brought 3 more of that new stuff." "Good?" "Yeah," Iris said, "we're good." She checked the straps and gave them a brief tug, then slung the camera and its protector case over her shoulder. Feeling that old familiar weight fall into place at her hip felt good. Like coming home after a long trip abroad. "Hey," Adams said, giving the younger woman a confident grin. "Don't fret. This is going to be a piece of cake. Just sit back and watch the MTF do their thing. Everything goes smoothly. We spend a couple of days up in the mountains looking good in black." "Some of us better than others," Iris quipped slyly. "You should seriously find out if you can wear pants over that thing." "God damn it," Adams muttered. "I'm seriously going to have some words with R&D after we get back." Let's see. Priority message. Palisade Broken Menagerie at 2200 local time. Operation Camp Granada commences. "Hello, Mudda. Hello, Fada. Here I am at Camp Granada. I'm probably not going to read any of this thing. So let's get the hell out of here and move on to the next one." So yeah, that, the needing pants thing, I guess that explains the whole riding up bit. I'm not going to go into... I understand what they meant by that. I'm not going to go into it. People who are watching these videos probably understand what they were getting at, and I'm going to move on. Lending a hand. The Ethics Committee isn't your enemy. Your site's liaison is there to help you do a better job. Those pesky containment procedures can seem impossible to perfect, but if you work with your liaisons, you can get them just right. If your liaison pays you a visit, give them your full attention. They're just there to help. Page 234 of the Foundation Employee Handbook. Why is this go to somewhere? Oh, it's personnel file. Dr. Jeremiah Cimmerian sat in the back of a powder blue Lincoln Continental at the outer gate of Site 88. It was a long drive from Mobile Regional Airport to Site 88, and Cimmerian? Jeremiah had enjoyed the scenery. Jeremiah's driver, an elderly, quiet, and somber man with a barely detectable southern drawl, flashed identification to the guard and they moved past the outer perimeter. 2 other cars were ahead of them at the second checkpoint. Jeremiah tried to get a closer look at the other 2 cars. "Kent, right?" "Yes, sir," the driver answered. "Busy day today?" "Probably more engineers out of 352, Kent said with a nod. "The regional director's been pushing us to upgrade our containment wings." "Kate was on us about those upgrades for years. I'm surprised they're finally following through, though. Honestly. Kent turned around, seeming interested for the first time this entire trip. "You know the regional director?" "I didn't actually meet her in person until that breach a few years back, though the circumstances weren't exactly conducive for us to get acquainted. If it wasn't for that, I'd just know her as a name on the reports I filed. Kent put his arm on the back of the passenger seat. You used to work here? Yeah, site liaison for the ethics committee. Kent laughed and turned back. For a minute, Jeremiah thought he must have thought I was important. You are not just scientists, and you are not just agents, you are diplomats. The world is counting on you to not just contain threats, but to avoid taking actions that create new ones. There are many objects that will not or cannot care how morally or ethically you treat them. There are also many that will care. And we care. Remedial Ethics, a refresher, page 2. Jeremiah turned the doorknob leading to Director Maddox's office and nearly choked on the smell of cigar smoke. The photos on the bookshelves were significantly older than the ones on the desk. All of them were pictures of Maddox at various stages of his life. Maddox greeted him warmly. Jeremiah had heard these sorts of pleasantries before. Regular staff might not care, but site directors knew better than to piss off a member of the ethics committee. Everyone had skeletons. Jeremiah just nodded along until Maddox got to the real question on his mind. What brings you back to Site 88? Honest to God, ethics violations, believe it or not, Jeremiah said, pulling a file folder from his bag. I'm here to investigate your liaison's reports. Yeah, she's been complaining about a lot of our work recently. Jeremiah nodded. Mostly stuff related to the Alpha 9 trials, right? Maddox stopped suddenly. You're cleared for that? Did you think the committee was just skipping the party? Maddox composed himself. Sorry, okay. Your liaison... Maddox paused for a moment, as if remembering the name. Jenkins. She's complaining about some of our work because she's not read up on Alpha 9. There's not much we can do about that right now, though. Even so, we can't just ignore the reports. That would be even more suspicious. So you're just gonna run around the site and make it look like you're checking up on things? I'm focusing on 2913. So depending on how that goes, I might be out of your hair before the end of the day. 2913? Maddox shifted in his seat. Jeremiah pulled out a folder from his bag and opened it. I'd like to talk to you about the impact testing you ordered last month. 2913 is a severed right hand formerly belonging to James Hallman, deceased, which is capable of independent movement. So it's cousin it. No, not cousin it. Thing. Cousin it is the thing covered in hair, and thing is the hand. Approximately 5.1 centimeters of the radial bone and 4.6 centimeters of the ulna extend, uncovered by skin, beyond the wrist joint. Despite the lack of a biological support system and obvious trauma associated with the terminating ends of bones behind the wrist joint, 2913 remains healthy. 2913 is capable of speech, hearing, sight, and smell. It has shown a moderate level of skill in complex problem solving. While 2913 has been observed to move its fingers and thumb together in tandem during the act of speaking, observation of 2913 has revealed the auditory source of speech to be between the first and second metacarpal bones, even in the absence of motion. Dr. Jeremiah sighed. The records he'd read had prepared him for this. But this was exactly the kind of SCP object that made it difficult for him to do his job properly. Jeremiah wasn't a naturally emotional person, but he was human. Remaining objective was always a struggle. Better get this over with now. The inside of 2913's containment chamber was gray and sterile. Jeremiah sat down at the desk on one side of the glass partition. 2913 lay almost motionless on the table, facing a television. Jeremiah could tell the room hadn't been properly cleaned in a few days. He wrote that down in his notebook, then activated the microphone. Hello? The hand jumped and spoke. Holy heck! 2913 turned and moved its fingers and thumb in time with the words. Who are you? I'm Dr. Jeremiah. Well, hey, Simi. Can I call you Simi? Okay, that works. Simi paused for a moment. Sure. The hand walked on his fingers to get closer to the glass partition. I never saw you before. I've never came down here before. Han, I think? Semi put the object's documentation on the desk in front of him. You're the first one to call me that. I was getting used to 2913. I can call you that instead if... No, I like it. It's much more personal than the number. Okay. Han. Or Hans. I wanted to get your perspective on the test they've been running on you. Han recoiled slightly. Maddox knows what he's doing. He's been with me since I first got here. Semi nodded. I understand that. I'm just helping him out. The more you can tell me about the testing, the better I can help Maddox with his job. Well, tell him just because my bones heal quick doesn't mean it doesn't hurt when they break them. Simi started to answer when a short blast of noise blared over the intercom, followed by a voice. Warning! This is not a drill. Please remain at your current location until further notice. There has been an incursion in Sector 4. Han spoke up excitedly. Are we about to call John McClane on their asses? Simi pulled out his phone. No bars. They locked the door before they played that message. No escape. You're just gonna wait it out? Not much choice. Semi set down his phone on the desk. I'm safer in here than I would have been out there. There was a pause from Han before it turned around and crawled towards his television remote. You want to watch Game of Thrones then? I can start it over from the beginning of the season if you want. Semi looked over at his phone. Still no signal. Shit. Maybe later. Right now we need to talk about those tests. I have here a copy of Dr. Kondraki's termination procedure proposal. Step 1 is his plan to use cat urine and a pistol loaded with silver bullets. Backup plans 2, 3, 4, and 5 are listed as, and I quote, wing it, make something up, cross that bridge when I come to it, and put my head between my knees and kiss my ass goodbye. Post-incident interview 083 Clef 01. The questioning was routine. When it was over, Han had apologized if it was getting Maddox into any trouble. Simi had laughed at that. Now, though, with the hand back to watching television, Simi was moving around the room awkwardly holding his cell phone and hoping for a signal. A distant rumbling shook the containment chamber and interrupted them both. Simi looked around as the power blinked twice, then went out for good. For a moment there was complete silence. Then the backup systems kicked on. Red emergency lights illuminated the room and the ventilation system began to move air again. During that brief silence, Simi thought he could hear something outside the door. He put his ear up to the wall and listened. He heard the faint sound of a declined access card. Shit, Simi said, even though Han couldn't hear him anymore. Simi dragged the desk to the left wall before flipping it over on its side. The intercom clattered to the floor. Simi pulled the table closer to the wall, then laid it down beside it. Outside, a knocking started and quickly became louder. Simi closed his eyes and covered his ears and took a small breath. He heard the metal door come off its hinges a moment later and slammed to the ground. Simi opened his mouth and breathed out slowly. The men outside threw an object into the middle of the room. The world went white and then very black. Let's see. 1445-1. Second group of hostiles designated Dasher. Breaches 2913's containment cell. A flashbang is deployed into the breach room. Dasher 1 and 4 enter 2913's cell while Dasher 2, 3, and 5 remain outside. Dasher 1 and 4 leave 2913's cell with 2913 in a cloth bag carried by Dasher 4. Remains of this bag later indicated to be of a Kevlar weave. Dasher receives a radio signal from Prancer requesting assistance at 2343's containment cell. Please see Incident Report 1430 for more information on LMTF 352 Delette's neutralization of Prancer. Dasher proceeds 13 meters before 2913 escapes its confinement. 2913 exits bag, brushing 4's belt as it falls to the floor. A fragmentation grenade detonates on Dasher 4's belt. It has been determined that this was an accidental detonation relating to 2913's fall, killing Dasher 1, 2, 4, and 5. Dasher 3 is mortally injured and will die before security teams arrive. 2913 is thrown away from explosion. 2913 recovers and returns to its cell. Note, request by 2913 to keep grenade pin acquired from Dasher 4 as a souvenir is currently under consideration. Video surveillance incursion log 88-4. There would be debriefings, investigations, and reports to file, but Simi headed back to Site 17 the next morning. They'd have to catch up to him there. Kent, for his part, seemed equal parts reverent and curious. He hadn't asked any questions yet, but Cimmerian could tell they were on the tip of the man's tongue. Seems like you've got something on your mind, Kent. Yes, sir. I've heard from a friend that you took out half the incursion on your own with a single grenade. Cimmerian blinked twice and chuckled. This, he thought. This is how these kind of stories start. Kent snapped his eyes back to the road. Well, Simi began, I can't talk about it, but that seems incredibly unlikely. Yes, sir, Kent answered. Simi was sure he could have gotten away with telling the truth, but what was the truth anyway? That the other half of the hostiles had died trying to get into 2343's cell? Why did the teams go straight for Alpha 9 candidates? What was 2343 doing on the list in the first place? It was basically a god. There's no way anyone would have approved it for Alpha 9. There were leaks and subterfuge and danger around every corner. This was exactly the kind of shit he'd been avoiding during his entire tenure with the Foundation. Hey, Kent, Cimmerian said, sighing. Could you turn the radio on? Kent nodded and pressed the power button. Norman Greenbaum, Cimmerian thought as he hummed along. Prepare yourself, you know it's a must. You gotta have a friend in Jesus. Memories can be fuzzy, so if there are important details, don't wait to be asked, write them down. If you or one of your friends had direct contact with either an escaped SCP object or a hostile intruder, report it to your superior. Once a containment breach ends, follow the 4 R's. Recontain, reclaim, remember, and record. After the site has been cleaned up, your debriefings will help prevent future breaches. Sometimes problems are systemic and recurring. Breaches rarely happen just once. Recovering from a containment breach, the 4 R's and more tips. Dr. Light's temporary office was Spartan, but she was anything but laconic. Sumerian knew he was going to end up here. He met her when he was first assigned to the project, and she seemed pleasant enough. A bit secretive, but she used to be a site director. That came with the territory. After the breach at Site 88, he'd been stuck trying to explain the events to 5 different people before this meeting. It wasn't like Light could even fire him, he wasn't in her chain of command. The ethics committee, though, would only take so much of a personality conflict before it tried someone else who was equally good at the job, but more agreeable. Sumerian had seen it happen to others. Hell, he'd been the replacement before. Why do you think you're here? She asked pointedly. Well, I get the feeling you're going to tell me I won't be flying commercial anymore. Funny. Yes, that's definitely true. But what I need to know is why you didn't tell security about the breach. Ah, Sumerian thought, that's what this is about. He crossed his legs and laughed. 2343. When did you figure it out? After the first debriefing, Prancer walked into a kill box dressed up as a containment cell. What I wanted to know is how you got that past Maddox. Maddox still believes that 2343 is an Alpha 9 candidate. The engineering teams have been making some modifications to his site that he's not been briefed on yet. You figure he's a mole? Not until the breach hit 2343. That was a false flag we planted in his list. We've modified everyone's now, but until the morning after the breach, he was the only one who thought 2343 was a possible candidate. Smart! Why isn't he in a cell right now? We want to see what he does next. I'd love to say better the devil you know, but we think he's worse than a mole. He's a pawn. Sumerian blinked. Wait, who uses site directors as pawns? Light stopped and smiled. In 05, it had to be. And 05 had executed or at least helped plan a breach of a Foundation site. Sumerian's eyes widened slightly. No, there's no way. I think you'll find it's becoming increasingly likely. There's a reason the Council hasn't signed off on our little project yet. The debate is fierce enough that someone might want to persuade folks that this is a bad idea with a little outside help. Shit. Yeah, shit. So you can imagine then that no, you won't be flying commercial anymore. We're going to bring the more promising candidates to a central facility. A single facility would be easier to secure and easier to hide. Sounds more like a single point of failure. There's no location that'll stay secure for very long. A central facility, Light said, shaking her head. Not a location. Sumerian stopped and cocked his head to the side. How are you going to hide a whole facility? Light smirked but didn't answer. Sumerian knew that this was as much information as he was going to get today. Whatever you're planning, you're going to need staff that are above reproach. A janitor speaks out of turn, and this is over before it gets started. That part's easy. Everyone's coming out of the woodwork for this. Ah, well, Sumerian said with a nod. I do enjoy meeting new people. Both of them laughed, but only for a moment. Okay, so, the High Court with the Magic Army. Let's see how long this is. It's up there. It's up there. But it seems important. But it's up there. Holy crap, is it up there. There's a lot of links in it. Okay, so let's see how long I Was Not Magnificent is. Because probably going to have to come back to the... No, this one's long as shit too. And how long is In Harm's Way? Okay, so all 3 of these are extra long. So, I guess I'm just going to cut it off at the High Court with the Magic Army, and I will come back to these next time. Well, not next time. I don't know when I'm going to come back to these, because I want to move on back to actual SCP entries after this episode. So, at some point between now and 2020, I will continue with this the resurrection of A9 or whatever. But for now, I want to get through some more actual SCPs before October rolls around. So, this has been Anachi Sasuke. This is episode... What the hell episode is this? 35 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. And in the next episode, we're going to start at SCP-106 and see how far we get. So, thank y'all for watching. I will see you in the next one. Later.